Sir, we are 24 hours away from the target. Good. Soon the Jedi in the pathetic Republic will feel the wrath of the new Sith Empire. It's been 19 years since Palpatine's fall. The galaxy has since been in a period of peace. Chancellor Bail Organa managed to lead the Republic towards success and prosperity. The Jedi have since rebuilt their temple and have assisted the Republic in its quest for peace. Together, Masters Yoda, Ki-Adi-Mundi, and Kenobi have guided the Order for the last 2 decades. Obi-Wan has now mastered the ability to see through the Force, and has even taken on an apprentice of his own. Kenobi still keeps in contact with Anakin and his family. It's just been a while since they actually talked to each other. The Council assembled in their chamber. CAC-10 then listed the status of the off-world Jedi. Masters Tano and Voss have been dispatched to the planet known as Zyos to inspect the Force for any darkness.
Darkness?
Master Shakti commented.
Zyos was once home to an ancient Sith empire. I feel the planet will forever be covered in darkness.
Darkness is one thing. It's the Darksiders we have to worry about, Ki-Adi-Mundi added.
But the Jedi are stronger than ever.
Master Luminarion Dooley said.
Whatever Darksiders rise, they wouldn't stand a chance.
Even still, Master Plo Koon stated, we must stay vigilant.
And stay vigilant, we shall.
Grandmaster Yoda said, scanning the room.
In time of peace, we are. But last how much longer will it?
The council grew quiet, each member pondering the will of the Force. Then, Kenobi spoke up. We'll never promise a tomorrow. That's why we must fight for what we have today. And today, we have peace. Before any of the Jedi could speak, Chancellor Bail Organa came into the chambers escorted by his bodyguard, known as Officer Cody. Before Cody even saw Obi-Wan, Kenobi was on his feet and ready to greet his old friend. Bail walked to the center of the room as Kenobi approached his former commander. Cody, my friend, it's good to see you again. Likewise, Obi-Wan, Cody said, happy to see Obi-Wan but a bit dismayed of his visual injury. I don't think I'll ever get used to that, you Jedi being able to see with no vision. It's just odd to me. It's quite alright, my old friend. Obi-Wan laughed and shook Cody's hand. But come to think of it, I heard you retired. I did, from the military. Cody said with a smirk. I'm not as spry as I once was, and guarding the Republic is a taxing job. So now, I guard the Chancellor. And what about Rex? Kenobi questioned. Ha, are you kidding? Rex will be on the front lines until he falls over dead. Cody joked. And even then there's no promises. Obi-Wan and Rex chuckled amongst themselves. Then, everyone turned their attention to the Chancellor. As you all may know, we have had peace since the fall of the tyrant Palpatine, and although we are not technically in a war, we have been fighting the remnants of the Separatists for over a decade. For although we have captured all the remaining Separatist leaders, the droids continue to invade our planets. But how is this possible? Master Mundi questioned. All of the droid factories that could successfully manufacture them have been destroyed. Yes, that is correct, Master, Bail confirmed. That is why I suppose the culprit is hiding right under our noses. Obi-Wan absorbed Bail's words as he brushed his beard. So you're saying there's a factory on a Republic planet? Precisely. That's why I came to you. If this information would have spread through the Senate, CAC finished Bail's sentence, then the culprit may be warned, and thus have time to cover their tracks. Yes, Organa said.
What planets do you suspect, Chancellor?
Master Unduli questioned. Organa held out 3 data pads. I have narrowed my search to 3 separate planets. Corellia, Lothal, and Naboo. Hearing the name Naboo piqued Kenobi's interest, but worried him at the same time. Bail continued, I've taken the liberty of calling a Senate meeting scheduled noon tomorrow, so while the Senator's attention is turned towards Coruscant, I wish for you to conduct your investigations. CAC used the Force to carry the datapads to his hand. He then began to read the documents to better understand them. After taking a few minutes to converse, the Council chose to accept the task bestowed on them, after which Bail thanked them for their time and left along with Cody. The Jedi discussed the mission further, and Kenobi volunteered to go to Naboo. He planned on doing his duties, but he also missed Anakin, and he saw this as a chance to catch up with his old friend. Master Shakti and Plo Koon were chosen to go to Corellia. Master Luminara and the newest member of the Jedi Council, Master Kanan Jarrus, were chosen to go to Lothal, and Yoda chose to accompany Kenobi to Naboo. And with all their plans in order, the Council dismissed, and each Jedi assigned to the mission disembarked for their designated planets. As Yoda and Kenobi's ship flew out of the Coruscant atmosphere, Yoda couldn't help but look back at the massive city planet with sorrow. Obi-Wan could sense Yoda's feelings. Are you alright, Master? Yoda looked at Kenobi.
Bad feeling I have, Obi-Wan.
What do you mean, Master? Yoda peered out the window once more.
Everything I fear is about to change.
We are 20 hours from the target. Control yourself, Luke. An older Anakin Skywalker commanded his son. As Luke and Leia sparred with their training sabers, you don't want to let your anger control you. Luke took a moment to regain his breath. Yeah, I know, Dad. Well, if you know, why are you doing it? Dad, Luke said, I got this, okay? Anakin chose to go silent, for he wanted to prove a point to his son. For after all, what would Anakin know anything about dueling? Besides the fact that he was one of the greatest warriors to ever live, of course. Still, he remained silent and let his son's anger get the best of him. And Leia managed to take her brother down easily.
Ha! I win again.
Leia said, high-fiving her father. Hey, that wasn't fair. She cheated. We said no cheap shots. Anakin then stepped in. Luke, on the battlefield, cheap shots don't exist. You live or you die. It's up to you to decide which path you'll take. Much like whether you'll choose the path of the light or the dark. You can't let your anger control you. It's not good. Trust me on that. Luke took his father's words of wisdom and placed his lightsaber hilt on his belt, just as Padme came to meet them.
How is training going?
Anakin kissed his beautiful wife. Great, as always, hon. Leia hugged her mother.
No, Luke's just being a baby.
Luke scowled at his sister as she ran towards the house. That's it, you're done, he claimed, chasing behind her. Anakin and Padme had a quick chuckle as their children ran for the house. Anakin then turned towards his wife. She clearly had something on her mind. What's wrong, Padme?
I've been called to Coruscant.
What? Anakin questioned. Why?
I don't know, Anakin. Chancellor Organa has called an emergency assembly.
She stated.
You know how the senator life works.
Anakin wasn't too pleased to see his wife leave all the time. He knew she was the senator of Naboo, but coming in less than a year, she could finally retire. And then, she wouldn't have to leave anymore. Anakin's only means of existence is keeping his family safe, and without them, life would be without purpose. So, when do you leave?
I head out in an hour. Like I said, it's urgent.
An hour passes and Anakin, Luke, and Leia see their mother off.
I love you all so much.
Padme said, kissing her children on their foreheads. Then, she kissed her husband on the lips one last time.
Don't worry, guys. I'll be back soon.
She walked up the shuttle's ramp and took one last look at her beautiful family. Then, moments later, her shuttle took off into the sunset. Later that night, Anakin woke up in the Jedi Academy on Coruscant. He didn't know how he got there, but he could feel a dark presence. It was then people began screaming and running in fear. Anakin ran to a nearby balcony overlooking the Coruscant skyline. Humongous flames began to sweep over the massive buildings as he looked to the right to see Padme. She was only a few feet away from him. Padme? She looked at him, tears flooding her eyes.
Anakin?
Padme, Anakin said, running towards her. Anakin came within a few feet from her as a wall of power consumed them both. Padme! It was then Anakin woke up, and he realized it was all just a nightmare. He stood from his bed and headed out his bedroom door. Anakin then walked outside his villa and made his way through the forest, coming across the entrance of a cave. He entered and made his way to a nearby rock. What troubles you, my son? A voice said from the cave. Anakin sat on a rock and closed his eyes. I don't really know, Master. I just have this strange feeling, like the Force is trying to tell me something. If the Force speaks, all you must do is listen. I'm trying, Master, Anakin said, adjusting his position on the rock. I've been following your advice ever since we reconnected years ago. I believe in the living Force, but this feels different. The voice spoke again. This feeling you have, Anakin. Do you fear it? I don't fear it, Anakin said, shaking his head, but it's something I feel that should be acknowledged. Then meditate on your feelings, Anakin, the voice instructed. If the Force is truly speaking to you, and it isn't just in your mind, then you must focus your senses. Believing in the living Force can mean the difference between life and death. Anakin stood to his feet and bowed to the voice. I'll do more meditating on this. Hopefully I can figure out if this is just a feeling or something more. Very well. Until next time, Anakin. May the Force be with you. Anakin turned his head back towards the voice as he made his way out of the cave. Thank you, Master. And may the Force be with you too, Qui-Gon. "14 hours till the target." Jedi Master Quinlan Vos slashed a battle droid down as he led his troops against their clanker foes. This Republic army was no longer just clones. This army was Republic men and women, all fighting for the same purpose: for peace. Since the fall of the tyrant Palpatine and the destruction of the Separatists, peace has been very close throughout the galaxy. And due to there being no official war, many of the clones were not needed in the line of duty, and so many were given the choice to become a civilian. And vice versa, civilians were encouraged to join the military. And now, almost 2 decades later, the Republic military contains more non-clones than actual clones. But due to the clone troops' accelerated growth rate, many have retired, but not all. "Captain!" a trooper called as he and his platoon were being surrounded. "Where's the captain?" Another soldier responded. "I don't know. He left us." "He left us?" the first troop questioned. "Ha! War hero my ass!" "What was that, Private?" a voice said from behind them. Both soldiers turned to see Rex landing after using his jetpack. "I don't ever leave my squad. Now keep fighting." Vos and his troops were making their way to reconnect with Rex's squad. However, slowly Rex's platoon was being shot down one by one. And if Quinlan doesn't reach them soon, they'll all be goners. Moments later, 4 Magna Guards arrived on the battlefield, staring Rex down. "Oh great, these guys again." The Magna Guards charged Rex, swinging their electrostaffs at him. Rex dodged under the one droid's staff and shot the next one in the chest. He then used his jetpack to fly over the other 2 and shot both in the chest as well. As he landed, the droids charged him again, smacking him in the chest with one of their staffs. As he fell back, he shot 2 more shots into one of the 4 droids, connecting with the chest and the head, destroying both motivators, causing the Magna Guard to fall to the ground, lifeless. It was then, another Magna Guard smacked the blaster pistol from his hand and knocked off the old clone's helmet as the 2 other guards stood beside it. The droid lifted the staff and prepared to finish Rex off. But suddenly, a massive force push knocked the 3 Magna Guards back, and a figure leaped to Rex's side.
"You okay, old timer?"
she said, as Rex realized who it was. "It's about time, Tano," Rex said, as Ahsoka helped him to his feet. "Always right on time, just like Skywalker used to do." She smiled as she wielded her lightsabers.
"Well, I learned from the best."
It was then Ahsoka and Rex leaped into action, making short work of the Magna Guards. And while they took down the advanced droids, upon a nearby hill, a droid tank aimed for the Jedi and the Captain Clone. Luckily, Ahsoka sensed it coming and used the Force to put a force bubble around her and Rex. The bubble was able to hold the explosion at bay. However, the ground beneath them began to crumble from the shockwave, and both Rex and Ahsoka fell into the planet's surface. As they began to freefall into pitch black darkness, Rex looked over to see Ahsoka unconscious. It appeared that although she held the blast off from killing them, the impact was still very overwhelming, and it ended up knocking her out. Thinking quick, Rex used his boosters on his jetpack to slow their descent, grabbing Ahsoka at the same time. He slowly brought them both to the bottom of the chasm, and ignited one of Ahsoka's lightsabers so he could see better through the darkness. "Ahsoka!" Rex said, shaking her limp body, but nothing happened. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She was dead. Rex pulled off his helmet and started giving Ahsoka CPR, and within seconds, she began to breathe again. She opened her eyes to see Rex leaning over her with a small tear running down his cheek.
"Rex?"
she said, looking at him confused.
"What are you doing?"
Rex helped Ahsoka to her feet and handed her lightsaber back. "I was, saving your life."
"And here I thought you just wanted a kiss."
she said with a smirk. "Wait, what?" Rex said, blushing. "Ahsoka, I'm twice your age." Ahsoka turned around and looked at their surroundings, using the lightsaber's green hue to illuminate the cavern.
"I was just kidding, Rex.
She said, snickering.
And technically speaking, I'm older than you."
Rex smiled back at Ahsoka. "Huh, well I guess you're right. Who's the old timer now?" It was then she felt a strange tremor in the Force as Voss's voice came over Rex's wrist communicator. "You both okay down there?" "Roger that," Rex said. "We'll be up in just a moment." The captain then turned around to see Ahsoka going deeper into the cavern. "Ahsoka, where are you going?" Rex questioned, following after her.
"I feel something, Rex. It's calling me."
Ahsoka led Rex into a smaller corridor as things became a little more clear to them. This wasn't a cave they fell into, it was an ancient Sith temple. And in the center of the room sat a glowing red pyramid.
It's an ancient Sith holocron,"
Ahsoka said, walking closer. "That looks like bad news, Ahsoka. Don't touch it." She got closer to the artifact, ignoring her captor's wishes.
"I think this is what the droids are here for, to get this."
She grabbed the holocron and placed it in her bag.
"We'll have to get this back to Master Yoda and the Council. Perhaps they'll know what to do."
"Are you sure about this?" Ahsoka came to Rex's side, slinging the bag over her back.
"Well, the way I see it, if the droids are actually here for this, then it means that it's powerful, and if it's that powerful, it's better off in our hands."
Rex placed his helmet on his head and wrapped Tano in his arms. "Well, I hope you'll ride, Ahsoka. His jetpack's boosters then ignited as both heroes began to fly out of the Dark Temple.
Yeah,
She said,
me too.
"8 hours till the target." Masters Plo Koon and Shak Ti landed on Corellia. The streets were packed with thousands of inhabitants. The sky filled with hundreds of ships. It was as if they never left Coruscant at all.
I feel that we took the wrong assignment.
Master Shak Ti said,
I haven't been to Naboo in years. It would have been nice to visit.
"I know the feeling. These great cities can grow old, but I would not want to go to Naboo," Plo Koon replied. They made their way down the busy streets.
It's because of Skywalker, isn't it?
Plo Koon said nothing as he continued to walk down the street. She pursued the conversation.
It's been nearly 2 decades, Plo. And if it wasn't for him, we all may be dead.
"If it wasn't for him, I'd still have my arm." Plo Koon snapped back, raising his cybernetic hand in front of her face. He may have redeemed himself in the eyes of many of the Jedi, but to me, he's still Vader. Shak Ti pulled Plo Koon aside, away from the crowd.
You act as though Skywalker was responsible for what Palpatine did. Besides, Anakin and his children paid the price and were banished from the Order and its teachings. You know that.
Plo Koon adjusted his cybernetic arm. "Well, if you ask me, he should have been locked up for life." Shak Ti turned away from her fellow Jedi.
Well, no one asked you. Now come on, we have a mission to do.
Both Jedi made their way down a back alley and eventually into a Corellian cantina. Shak Ti led Plo Koon inside, where the scum of Corellia hung out. "What are we doing here?" Plo questioned.
We're visiting my contact.
Shak Ti replied. "Contact?" he questioned. "We were the only ones who were supposed to know about this."
Well, if we are to find anything, we should at least know where to start looking, right?
Plo Koon didn't know if he agreed with her decision, but he knew Shak Ti was no fool, so he decided to trust her judgment. They began to walk through the cantina, slowly peering around at the scum and villainy that surrounded them. They were then approached by a green Rhodian. He spoke in his native tongue. "Oh, Master Jedi, we expect you, we do,"
Hello. I am Shak Ti, and this is my companion, Plo Koon.
she said, still trying to piece together the Rhodian's language.
Are you the scoundrel?
The Rhodian began to snicker to himself. "You see what you are, miss? We are Scoundrel here. But my name is Greedo." He continued to laugh amongst himself as he led Shak Ti and Plo Koon into the back room. As they entered the circular room, they realized the room was poorly lit, with a single light shining down from the ceiling in the center of the room. "What you bring me, Greedo?" a voice asked from the darkness. "The Jedi, sir. They here for you," the man said, coming closer to the light. Shak Ti looked at the silhouette.
I am looking for the scoundrel.
"The Scoundrel, huh?"
Yes. Are you him?
"The Scoundrel is just a title," the man said, finally stepping into the light. "But for a pretty lady like you, the name's Han Solo." Shak Ti brushed the compliment aside.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Mr. Solo, but a friend of yours said you could help.
Han thought for a moment, gathering his thoughts. Then it finally hit him. "Oh yeah, I remember now. The pretty little green Twi'lek, Hera, yeah. Yeah, we go way back." It was then Shak Ti could smell the liquor on his breath.
Are you drunk?
Han chuckled. "Me? Drunk?" "It's possible." Plo Koon then stepped in. "If you're drunk, how are you going to be able to help us?" "Because, my friend," Han said, placing his hand on Greedo's shoulder, "the only thing that gets me and my pal Greedo here sober is credits." "And how can we trust you with our credits?" "Look," Han said, creeping towards the Jedi, slowly stumbling over his own feet. "You're in Corellia. Corellia is my planet. I know the ins and the outs of everything and everyone." Plo Koon leaned toward Shak Ti. "This guy reminds me of a hut,"
Yeah,
she whispered back.
only slimier.
"So," Han said, ignoring their comment, "moral of the story, I'm your only shot." The Jedi weren't happy, but if Han was really the person he said he was, it would make their job a lot easier.
Okay, scoundrel. You have a deal, but no funny business.
"Funny business? Me? Of course not," Han said, as both Jedi were tased from behind and knocked out. As they fell to the ground, he stood over their bodies. "No funny business starting now, that is." "1 hour till the target." On Lothal, Jedi Masters Kanan Jarrus and Luminar Unduli sliced through a squad of droids, quickly turning the droids into heaps of scrap metal. "Well, Kanan said, dispatching the last droid. I guess we're on the right track. The Jedi hopped on their speeders and headed towards the nearby town. As they left the scene, a person in an old clone helmet hopped on his own speeder and began to follow them. He kept his distance and believed himself to be quite stealthy. Jarrus and Unduli turned into a nearby canyon, and the man followed them. As he entered the canyon, he looked around for the Jedi, keeping his speed low so he wouldn't be seen. But then, all of a sudden, he felt an invisible gust of wind push him from his speeder. As he hit the ground, his helmet flew from his head, and a blue lightsaber met him only a few inches away. Who are you? Why are you following us? Kanan said, holding the blade to the stranger's neck. Stop! Hold on! The follower pleaded. It was then Kanan realized that this man was barely even a man at all. He was a teenager. You still haven't answered my question, kid. Who are you? The boy looked up to the Jedi with fear in his eyes. My name's Ezra Bridger. You two are Jedi, right? Luminara helped Ezra to his feet. Well, she said, looking to Kanan to whip up a good excuse. For although the Jedi didn't want to lie to the boy, they were on a secret mission, and so no one's supposed to know. Kanan said, we're not Jedi, we're, Ezra raised an eyebrow. If you're trying to lie to me, you're not doing a very good job of it. I mean, come on. I just saw you guys using the Force on those droids back there. Luminara then looked at Kanan again, still expecting a good lie to bail them out. Well, Kanan said, thinking of his excuse. It was, the wind? Ezra folded his arms and glared at Kanan. The wind, huh? Well, explain the lightsabers then. Kanan looked at his saber, then at Luminara, then back to Ezra. Well, touche, kid. You're right. We're Jedi. So you are Jedi. I knew it. I could sense it. Sense it? Luminara questioned. Yeah, he said. Before my parents died, I always had a strange feeling, or like a connection or whatever. But after their deaths, I found a journal that belonged to my mother. And in that journal, she wrote about how I was born Force sensitive. If she knew you were Force sensitive, why did she contact the Jedi? Master Unduli questioned. She was scared for me. It was right around the same time the tyrant Palpatine was killed by the Skywalker. Luminara and Kanan looked at each other confused. The Skywalker? Is that what the kids call Anakin these days? Yep, Ezra confirmed. He's been my idol my entire life. I was hoping that either of you were him. Well, as you can see, we're not him, kid. Kanan said, walking away. Now, we gotta go. We have important business. Now, Ezra was a smart kid. He knew exactly why the Jedi were here on Lothal, and he used his assumed knowledge to do what he had to do. If you're wondering where these droids are coming from, I think I can help you. Kanan stopped in his tracks and turned back towards Ezra. Fine, kid. Let's hear it. Ezra then explained that there was odd droid activity south from them, and although Kanan and Luminara just met Ezra, they decided to give him a chance, and all three Force wielders headed south. When they arrived at their destination, they watched from a distance. What are they doing? Kanan said, peering through his binoculars. The droids were moving what seemed to be a massive rectangular stone. What is that? Unduli questioned. I think it's like a coffin, Ezra said, squinting his eyes. How do you know? Kanan asked. I have a lot of free time here, Ezra said, smirking. I've been all over these hills, and I've seen inside that cave where they got that thing from. I remember that coffin. Kanan looked towards the droids again. No, that doesn't make any sense. What would they want with an old coffin? I don't know, Ezra said. That cave is like an ancient tomb or something like that. Who knows what they're planning? Jarrus nodded to Illuminara. It doesn't matter what they're planning. Whatever the case, the council needs to know about it now. I'm on it, she claimed, grabbing her holo communicator and walking several feet away. Ezra and Kanan chilled near the speeders while she attempted to make a connection. Luminara walked to a nearby boulder and was about to make a call, but suddenly, she heard a noise. A noise she hasn't heard for many years. It sounded like a droid's hinges, but bigger and stronger. A sound that only a few Jedi who actually fought in the Clone Wars could even recognize. For if you were to ever hear that dreaded sound, you were already a goner. No, she said under her breath. That's impossible. He's dead. She wielded her lightsaber and turned back towards the boys. Kanan, Ezra, run! They were caught off guard as they looked to see what appeared to be a super advanced droid wielding 4 lightsabers landing behind her. She attempted to defend herself, but this monster was too quick, and in a split second, Luminara Unduli was cut down. It then looked towards Kanan and Ezra, using one of its arms to pick up Unduli's fallen saber. Kanan and Ezra slowly backed up to their speeders and took off. The monster watched as his yellow cat-like eyes followed them into the horizon.
You can run, but you cannot hide, Jedi scum.
My lord, we have arrived.
Good. Now we make this pathetic republic kneel.
On Naboo, Masters Obi-Wan and Yoda have arrived at Anakin's villa. They walk to the front door. Perhaps we should have called first, Kenobi joked as he knocked on the door. Moments later, Luke answered the door. He looked at the older blind man, then at the little green alien. Can I help you? Hello there, Kenobi said, nodding to the boy. My name is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and this is my colleague, Master Yoda.
Nice to meet you. It is.
Yoda said, smiling. Wait, did you say Obi-Wan and Yoda? Luke asked with his eyes widening. Holy Wookiee spit! You guys are legends! Obi-Wan and Yoda were caught off guard for a moment. So you know of us? Yeah, Luke confirmed. You fought with my father in the Clone Wars. Ah, okay, Obi-Wan said. So you must be the Luke I heard so much about. Yeah, that's me. Are you guys here to see my dad?
Yes, correct you are.
Luke invited both Jedi inside and went to get his father. Kenobi and Yoda sat upon the furniture and looked at each other. Do you sense that too, Master?
The boy. Been training, he has. And his sister too, I'm sure.
I could feel it too, Kenobi said, crossing his arms. Anakin's been training them, even though he's been forbidden to do so.
Same old Skywalker, he is.
It was then Anakin entered the room, gazing upon his old allies. Obi-Wan? Yoda? He said, surprised by their presence. It's been years. How are you guys? The trio caught up on some old news and some current events, and after a while, Kenobi informed Anakin on the reason why they were actually there in the first place. A droid factory? On Naboo? Skywalker stated. Yeah, I'm sorry, Masters, but I think you guys wasted your time. There's no way Naboo could ever have a droid factory. Trust me. Padme would have put a stop to that a long time ago. Kenobi and Yoda were glad to hear Naboo was clear, but with that matter out of the way, they decided to talk to Anakin about his children. Kenobi didn't really know how to approach the situation, so he decided just to leap right on in. Anakin, Kenobi said, have you been training Luke and Leia in the ways of the Force? Anakin looked at Kenobi, surprised by his former master's bluntness. And although a part of Anakin did want to lie, he decided to give in because he knew these guys already knew the truth. Yes, I have. Yoda looked at the ground in disapproval as Obi-Wan continued. But Anakin, why? You know you've been exiled and your children forbidden. Don't lecture me, Obi-Wan, Anakin said, standing to his feet. They're my children, and I choose to raise them however I please. And I want them to be ready for anything. Ready for anything? Kenobi questioned. What do you mean by that? Yoda finally stepped in.
Fear you have. Coming. Something is.
Anakin looked at Yoda confused. Wait a second. You felt it too. Back on the busy city of Coruscant, the bright morning grew dark in seconds. The inhabitants looked to the sky to see a moon in front of the sun, causing the sky to turn blood red. Padme walked to the deck of the Senate building and peered up at the sky. For a moment, it seemed as though all of Coruscant was silent. Not even a peep could be heard, for all of Coruscant were caught off guard by the sudden eclipse. Padme grabbed her communicator and called her husband. Anakin picked it up as Luke and Leia entered the room. Hey Padme, what's going on? On their video chat, Anakin could barely make Padme out, for her surroundings were near pitch black.
I don't know,
Padme said with panic in her voice.
Anakin, something's not right.
Wait, what do you mean? Padme, I can barely see you, Anakin said, sitting down on a chair.
There's something blocking the sun, Anakin. I don't know what it is.
Something's blocking the sun? Anakin repeated, causing Kenobi and Yoda to become confused. Padme, you're not making any sense. It was then, Coruscant's billions of screens went blank. From the personal comm tablets to the biggest billboards, the bright and colorful pixels and the holograms went black. And then, a figure appeared, draped in a black cloak. Luke turned on his holoterminal to see his station had been hacked, and it revealed the figure as well. It appeared that all around the galaxy, trillions of devices were broadcasting this being. And that meant trillions of people were watching the same broadcast too. Finally, after a few seconds, the figure spoke. People of the Republic, I have come to save you, for no longer shall you be victims of your pathetic Senate. From this moment on, the Republic is no more, and thus, from its ashes, a new order has risen, the Empire, and I, its Emperor. The figure removed his hood, and everyone in the room gasped. Anakin, Obi-Wan said, fixing his eye cover. What's going on? Leia looked at the Zabrak on the holoterminal, then to her father. Dad? Who is that? Anakin looked back at his allies. It's Maul. Maul's broadcast continued. And for those who do not kneel to your Emperor, there will be grave consequences, as Coruscant is about to feel. Padme looked around to see many captivated beings, all still confused. Some were frightened, some were angry, and even some found humor in the situation, believing it all to be just one big joke. Maul continued once more. Allow me to make this very clear. To stand against me is to die. I am your emperor, and you all will bow. Suddenly, Maul's transmission cut out, and Padme could see Anakin again. That's when Anakin remembered his dream. He remembered the wall of flames engulfing the planet. It was all Maul's fault. Padme, he said with haste, you have to get off Coruscant now. Padme looked confused.
Anakin, what are you talking about?
Anakin pressured more. Padme, you have to find a shuttle and get out of there now.
Anakin,
Before Padme could even finish her sentence, the massive moon began to glow green. She looked up to the eclipse, trying to understand what's going on. Then, in a split second, a massive beam cut through the Coruscant atmosphere and crashed into the planet, creating a massive wall of flames and destruction that began to shake the entire planet to its core. The massive towers began to fall into the inhabitants below. The ships in the blast radius were immediately disintegrated. Wherever the blast hit, death followed. Padme looked at the wall of death as it came faster and faster. She was scared mostly because there was nothing she could do. She looked at her husband through the communicator one last time. As the flames came only feet away, with her soft voice, she slipped out one last word.
Anakin?
Commander Rex pilots their ship through hyperspace. Next to him sits Ahsoka Tano, and behind her sits Quinlan Vos.
We better keep an eye on this.
Ahsoka said, holding the holocron in her hand.
Who knows who may be after it?
Quinlan Vos stroked the stubble on his chin. That artifact you hold is no joke, Ahsoka. The last time I saw one of those, Dooku had one.
I know.
Ahsoka said, staring into its red glowing core.
But it's strange how something so small can have such great power.
Well, what do you expect? Rex chimed in. Small and powerful. Just like Master Yoda. Speaking of Master Yoda, Vos said, how close are we to Coruscant? Vos suddenly stopped mid-sentence and grabbed his chest, as if his heart skipped a beat. Ahsoka turned back to him.
You felt it too?
Rex was caught off guard by the situation. Are you two okay? Vos stood to his feet, still holding his chest. Something has happened. Something very bad. Rex looked over his shoulder. He saw Quinlan still clutching his chest. What? Are you having a heart attack? No, I'm fine, Vos replied, lowering his hand to his side. I don't know what that was, but I've never felt anything like it.
Me either,
Ahsoka replied. Rex studied the situation. He didn't feel anything personally, but his Jedi friends did. If he didn't know any better, this was clearly a disturbance in the Force. Well, whatever the case, we'll be at Coruscant soon. Perhaps the Council also felt this feeling. After a few minutes, the trio exit hyperspace. They come across the coordinates of Coruscant, only there was nothing. Ahsoka was confused.
Rex, I thought you said we arrived.
We did. Rex replied, scanning into the horizon of stars. There was nothing, as if Coruscant had just vanished out of existence. Ahsoka scanned the emptiness of space again. All she could see were black scraps of ship debris. Vos peered out the window to see a small sphere in the distance. What is that?
It looks like a small moon,
Ahsoka said. Rex studied the structure. I don't know. Perhaps they have some sort of jammer messing with our location. Maybe that's why our computer is telling us this is Coruscant. Rex grabbed his communicator. I'll try contacting them. Maybe they can lower the jammer signal so we can jump to Coruscant. Upon the Death Star, the signal comes through. A droid turns to his master, Maul.
Sir, we have contact with someone. He says his name is Captain Rex of the Republic.
Rex leaned over to Ahsoka and joked, you know, if I didn't know any better, that droid sounded like a clanker. Ahsoka smiled back.
Yeah, that'd be a surprise.
A voice finally came over the communicator. Captain Rex, it has been too long. Rex was caught off guard. You know me? Well, of course. Who could forget the great Captain Rex, the greatest clone to ever live? Rex, Ahsoka, and Vos were still trying to wrap their heads around what was going on. Look, friend, my comrades and I are looking to jump to Coruscant. Do you by any chance have a jammer upon your vessel? Yes, the voice replied, but I don't have it on at the moment. I had just used a massive amount of power to create something I like to call chaos. Rex was getting more confused by the moment. Ahsoka chimed in.
Look, buddy, we're trying to get to Coruscant.
Well, if you're looking for Coruscant, the man replied, you've arrived. The heroes looked out their window and studied the black debris and salvage floating in space. Slowly, Ahsoka began to piece the situation together, as the spherical ship in the distance began to glow green.
He killed them all.
But do not worry, Maul said with a sinister smile, stepping into the hologram and revealing himself to the trio. You will be joining them soon.
Rex!
Ahsoka called out, realizing who the voice belonged to.
Fly now!
Rex grabbed the steering wheel and pulled it to the left. Ahsoka watched as a massive green beam shot straight for them, clipping their ship, which in turn caused a massive explosion. Maul watched from the Death Star as their ship ignited in flames, while a smirk lit up his face. I'll never get tired of that. Within minutes, Maul was on his personal ship heading for the wreckage. His ship pulled up next to theirs and he boarded. He was surprised to see the ship was still in good shape considering what had just happened. His droid officer came to his side, blaster prepped to kill.
Are you sure they survived?
I only fired at them with less than 1% of the Death Star's power. Enough to dismantle the ship, not to obliterate it. Quickly, the escape pod, Voss said, holding his left, now injured shoulder. He watched as Rex entered the pod with Ahsoka draped over his shoulder. She's hurt, but she'll make it. Well, Captain, aren't we being quite optimistic? A voice sounded from behind Voss. It was Maul. He used the Force to pull the holocron from Ahsoka's bag to his hand. No, the holocron, Rex said. Voss looked back to Rex, then towards Maul and the dozens of droids that surrounded him. He ignited his lightsaber and hit the escape pod preparation button. As the engines warmed up, Rex looked on confused. Voss, you mind telling me what you're doing? Get Ahsoka out of here. This Sith is mine. Voss stepped out of the pod and shut the doors, ejecting the pod from their ship. May the Force be with you, brother, Rex muttered to himself. He looked at the pod's control console. I'm just glad they started adding lightspeed to these things. He turned on the lightspeed and the escape pod launched into hyperspace. Maul and Voss stood silent, just sizing each other up. After a few seconds, Quinlan spoke. How did you survive? I thought you died in the Clone Wars. My friend, the dark side is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. Maul replied with a smirk. Fine. Keep your secrets. I don't care anyway, Voss stated as he stood in his battle stance. I don't care how you lived before. This time, you die today, Maul. The battle droids readied their blasters. However, Maul lifted his arm, signaling for them to halt their attack. It's been quite some time since I faced another Force user, Maul said, force pulling his lightsaber to his hand. Now do not get me wrong, Jedi. My general has kept me at the peak of my abilities. However, in the end of the day, he is only a droid. Maul ignited his blade and began to engage in combat with a Jedi. A droid general with lightsabers, Voss said, trying to wrap his mind around Maul's words. You mean Grievous? How? I was brought his remains a decade and a half ago, and I rebuilt him better and stronger than before, Maul stated before slashing his blade towards Quinlan's head. I even reprogrammed his brain to give me absolute loyalty. True loyalty doesn't come by force, it's earned by respect, Voss replied, locking blades with the Sith. Perhaps you're right, Maul said with a smirk, unless you have other means of control. As their blades were locked, Voss adjusted his vision to notice that Maul had a Sith holocron in his other hand. However, now, it was glowing with a red aura. Suddenly, the color of Voss's eyes began to turn a hazy red as Quinlan began to grow weaker. What is this? He muttered as he fell to the floor of the ship, seemingly paralyzed. He felt as though he was locked in his own body. You see, Jedi, Maul said, holding the tip of his blade to the petrified Voss's neck. The dark side is like a scar. It mars you, and even when you think it's healed, the scar shall remain. He looked to the holocron in his hand, and with this artifact, I can control said scar without resistance. And believe me when I say, there are trillions of scars in this galaxy. All Voss could do was gaze up at Maul from the ground. He looked into the Sith's eyes, defeated. With the only strength he could muster, he managed to release a few words. What are you waiting for? Kill me. Maul looked at Quinlan with a smile. No, he said, catching Voss off guard. I don't think I will. He deactivated his lightsaber and placed it back on his belt. He then knelt down next to Voss and waved his hand over his head, knocking the Jedi out. That would be a waste of a great asset. Shh, Kanan whispered to Ezra as they hid behind a boulder blocking the entrance of a cave. Ezra peeked around the edge to see what Jarrus was looking at. Half a mile away, there was a battalion of droids coming their direction. Did they find us? Ezra asked. No, I don't think so, Kanan replied. But how do you know? I don't know, but I'm staying optimistic. No, like I said, shh. But they're coming our way, Bridger said in a panic. Listen, kid, Kanan said, wanting to yell but keeping his voice low. This is a bad situation we're in, okay? I know that. But I'm trying to keep calm because one of my friends just got killed right before my eyes by a Jedi-killing cyborg I thought was dead since the Clone Wars. So please, just shh. Ezra respected Kanan's wishes and promptly shut his mouth. The legion of droids approached their location and Jarrus prepped his lightsaber just in case they were discovered. There had to be at least 100 battle droids, too many to fight, but Kanan was going to have to do what he had to do to survive. And after a few tense minutes, The droids left the area. The young men let out a sigh of relief and relaxed against the cave wall. Oh man, that was close. What now? Ezra asked. Kanan realized the cave they were currently in would work well as a hideout for now, until he could come up with a better plan. Alright, so the droids may have passed for now, but they'll be scanning for communications. So we can't put a distress call out to Coruscant just yet. I'll have to make it back to my ship so we can send an encrypted message. What about me? Ezra questioned. Kanan looked back to the boy. What about you? That thing saw my face too. He'll kill me, Bridger replied. Besides, I don't have anyone here. I'm gonna go to Coruscant with you. Kanan looked at the young man surprised, and while Ezra was headstrong for his age, there was a part of him that could see a younger self inside of Ezra. I don't know, kid. Besides, Ezra continued, I know the fastest way back to the ship. Kanan took a moment to consider the offer. He knew they didn't have much time, but he definitely admired the young man's tenacity. Okay, get me back to my ship and we'll talk. Deal? Ezra smiled back. Deal. They waited for about an hour before heading out of the cave. Ezra led Kanan through caverns and over hills, keeping out of sight of any paths they may cross. The Jedi looked to the young man walking beside him. Look, kid, I know how it feels to be alone. How, Kanan? Ezra questioned, somewhat offended. You're a Jedi. How could you have any idea? Kanan took a deep breath. I just know, okay? Ezra shrugged his shoulders, feeling a bit disrespected. Whatever. Kanan suddenly stopped in his tracks. I knew a kid, a lot like you. His name was Caleb Doom. Ezra stopped walking and turned towards the Jedi. As Kanan continued, he was on a mission with his master when an event called Order 66 occurred. He paused for a moment to search his memory. The Jedi's clone troopers turned against them. All across the galaxy, Jedi were slain. Luckily, the temple was evacuated before the clones reached it. The clones killed their Jedi? Ezra questioned. But why? It's kinda a long story, kid, Kanan said, sitting down on a nearby tree stump. Whatever the case, Caleb and his master were betrayed. She managed to save her Padawan, but it was too late. She was killed in the process. Ezra became more intrigued. What did Caleb do? What could he do? Kanan responded. He was just a kid, stuck between battle droids that wanted to kill him and clones that wanted to kill him on a planet that wanted to kill him, he said, taking a second to regain his thoughts. Remember, at the time, he didn't know what was going on. No one did. So he had to stay strong if he wanted to survive. Well, where is he now? Ezra questioned again. Well, you're looking at him, kid. Ezra took a second to piece Kanan's words together. Wait, but I thought your name was Kanan. Well, it is now, Jarrus said. Ezra was still confused. But why did you change it? Like I said, I didn't know what was going on, he stated, standing back to his feet. I went into hiding for a few months and took up the name Kanan Jarrus to conceal my identity. And when I discovered Anakin, or as you say, the Skywalker defeated Palpatine, I returned home. And you kept the name? Yeah. But why? It's strange, Kanan said as they continued on their path. For me, the Padawan that was Caleb Doom died with his master, Kanan Jarrus. That's who I am today. Ezra looked to the ground with sorrow. I'm sorry, Kanan. You didn't deserve what happened to you. Thanks, Ezra, Kanan said, smiling to his young companion. But I'm the man I am today because of what I went through. So while it was very unfortunate, I don't think I'd change a thing. Hey, you called me Ezra, Bridger said with a smile, trying to liven up the situation. No, I didn't, Kanan joked back. The young men continued to chat amongst themselves as they came within 400 meters of their ship. Ezra spotted it first. See? There it is. Nice, kid. Let's move. They reached the ship and Kanan ran on board. Stay outside and keep watch. I'll get the engines warmed up. Ezra did as instructed while Kanan entered the cockpit. Alright, I better contact the council, he said to himself as he attempted to holocall the council on Coruscant. He tried several times, however, he was unable to get through. What the heck is going on? I'll try Ahsoka. He called through to Ahsoka, but Rex appeared in the chat instead. Rex, I've been trying to contact the council, but I can't get through. General Grievous is alive. Coruscant's gone, Master Jarrus. Kanan was confused. What do you mean it's gone? Maul's back. He used a massive ship to destroy the planet. Jarrus was in shock. What? How? I don't know, Rex said. But I've got Tana here with me and she's hurt. I just got off the holocall with Master Kenobi. We're on our way to Naboo. I suggest you do the same. Right. I'll be there. Kanan closed the chat signal as a strange beeping noise caught his ear. He turned to hear it coming from a storage hatch behind him. He slowly crept forward and opened the hatch to reveal a separatist bomb. His eyes opened wide as he turned to protect himself. Outside with Ezra, he heard Kanan yell, Ezra! It's a trap! Run! The ship instantly exploded, throwing Ezra several meters back. No! Kanan! All the young man could do was watch helplessly as the flames continued to engulf the ship. Ezra then began to hear footsteps from behind him.
Freeze, Jedi.
He turned to see 24 battle droids pointing their blasters right in his face as rage began to consume him. You'll pay for this! Ezra declared as he reached his arms out, digging deep within himself, and setting loose a massive force wave upon the droids, turning them all into scrap metal. Bridger couldn't believe what had just happened as he began to grow lightheaded. The amount of power he had just released was remarkable. However, it had a very heavy toll on someone who was not trained in how to use it, and because of that, he fell to the ground passed out. A voice said, standing over the passed out young man,
This young Jedi has darkness in him. My master may find this one useful.
Jedi Master Yoda sits in the foyer outside of Anakin's bedroom. His eyes were shut as he focused in on the Force. He could feel the turmoil inside of Skywalker, the emptiness of losing his wife. Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi entered the room and walked to Yoda's side. I had just got off the holocall with Rex. He's with Ahsoka. However, no word from the other Jedi. He looked to see Master Yoda still meditating. While Kenobi was physically blinded, the Force was his vision now. Maul has returned.
Yes,
Yoda confirmed, opening his eyes.
the darkness returned. It has.
Are the twins okay? Kenobi questioned.
Angry, they are. But blame them. I do not.
Kenobi sat beside his ally. Has there been any word from Anakin?
Skywalker. No.
He said, looking towards Anakin's door.
Since someone else, I do. Someone. Dark.
Obi-Wan looked towards the door. You sense Maul?
No.
The old master said, shaking his head.
Vader.
Vader. Kenobi took a second to absorb Yoda's words. He stood to his feet and ready to walk towards the door.
Going somewhere, are you?
Yoda questioned. Kenobi stopped in his tracks. Anakin shall not become Vader again. He looked to the ground. I wasn't there for him last time. I will not make the mistake again.
Sit, Master Kenobi.
Yoda said, patting the seat beside him. But he needs us, Master Yoda. We can't just sit back and do nothing.
Exiled, Skywalker, maybe. But strong, he is.
Yoda said, closing his eyes.
Up to Skywalker, it is.
Kenobi wanted to do something, but ultimately Yoda was right. No matter what he could say to Anakin, it was his decision. And considering his past, Anakin already knows the price of the dark side and what it can cost. He sat back down beside his Jedi companion. So we just sit here and wait? Yoda said, closing his eyes for meditation.
When ready, come to us. Skywalker will.
But what happens if Vader comes through that door? Yoda slightly slouched in his seat, with his eyes still closed.
Do what we must. We will.
Outside of the villa, Luke was charging through the forest, his tears blurring his vision. He fell to his knees and kept picturing his mother dying over and over again. He lifted his arms and his lightsaber hilt flew to his hand. He ignited the blade and began slicing through trees and rocks in anger. The more he destroyed, the better he felt. And that just fueled his hate even more. Suddenly, a baby Nina crossed his path. He looked at the tiny creature, anger still in his eyes. It felt good to destroy, he thought to himself. But if it felt this good to destroy, how would it feel to kill? He looked at his lightsaber, then back to the creature. He lifted his blade in the air and brought it down quick in anger. Only instead of chopping the beast in half, his blow was blocked by another lightsaber. Leia's lightsaber.
Luke, what are you doing?
She questioned. Mom's dead, Leia. She's dead, Luke said, pushing his blade off his sister's.
I know, Luke. I'm mad too, but we can't take our anger out on other beings. That's the dark side, Luke. Remember what Dad said?
Luke cut in. I don't care what he said. He just went to the bedroom right after watching Mom die. He didn't say anything to us. He just gave up, Luke said, turning away from Leia, his lightsaber still drawn. We need to strike back. Now. We need to avenge Mom,
Luke!
Leia said, trying to talk her brother down.
That's not you talking. It's your anger, your hate. It will destroy you, Luke.
Enough, Leia, Luke said with rage in his eyes. I'm tired of you always being in my way. You and Dad were always holding me back. If I was allowed to be stronger, I don't know, maybe I could have saved her.
Saved her? Luke, Coruscant is gone. No Jedi is that strong. Not even Dad could have saved her.
Shut up! Luke roared, launching an attack towards his sister. They engage in a brief lightsaber duel that takes them near the top of a waterfall where they lock blades.
Luke, the dark side is messing with your mind. Please don't let your hate consume you. It's not what Mom would have wanted.
As they glared into each other's eyes, Leia could see the fear of what her brother was becoming. It may have scared her, but she knew it scared Luke just as much. He began to use his superior physical strength to push his sister closer and closer towards the edge of a 50-foot cliff. I'm going to kill that monster, Leia. And if you're not with me, you're in my way! Luke broke through her block and force pushed her off the edge. Leia fell to the water below, passing out upon impact of the surface. As she began to sink into the water's depths, a hand grabbed her and dragged her to the water's bank. She opened her eyes just enough to see the person who saved her. It was Luke. He stood to his feet while Leia was slowly slipping back into unconsciousness. I'm sorry, Leia. But this isn't about the Jedi or Sith. It's about Mom. I'm taking Dad's old fighter and getting revenge, he said as he began to walk away. Maul dies today, even if I have to do it alone. Hey, wake up, a voice said. Master Shaak Ti opened her eyes to see Han Solo pointing the blaster at her face. She felt her hands tied down as she looked around for Plo. However, he was not in the room.
Where's my companion?
Don't worry, your Keldor friend is chilling in the other room. He'll be fine as long as you follow the procedure. Understand? Han said with his signature smile.
What are you talking about?
Shaak asked. I'm in deep with some real bad creeps. They took my lady, and I'm getting her back.
Your lady?
She questioned.
You captured 2 Jedi for your girlfriend.
Heck no, Han chuckled amongst himself. No woman is worth this much trouble. Shaak was confused.
Then what are you talking about?
He knelt down next to the Jedi and pulled out his holoprojector. This is my lady. A 3-dimensional holographic image appeared of an old beat-up spaceship.
Your ship?
She said.
You kidnapped us because of that ugly piece of junk?
Han grew offended. Look, Jedi, I didn't come here for your opinion, okay? I'm here to talk about a possible truce. One that could benefit both of us. Shaak looked at the scoundrel. While he was admittedly handsome, she didn't believe him.
Why should I trust you? You already betrayed me once.
Because you don't have much of a choice, do you, dollface? Han replied. Besides, I still technically held up my side of the bargain from before.
What do you mean?
I brought you to the men that you were looking for. He nodded his head toward the window, signaling her to look outside for herself. Shaak peered out the window to see a slimy hut along with 4 armed guards. She turned back to Solo.
You're working under a hut?
I wouldn't exactly say working under him, more like working for him. Shaak raised an eyebrow at the absurdity of Han's statement.
What's going on?
You want to know what's going on? Fine, I'll tell you. You see that hut down there? He works for Jabba, Han said, scratching his head. And well, I kinda happen to owe Jabba a couple credits. Kinda.
And for collateral, they took your ship?
He smiled back. You know, you Jedi are smarter than you look.
So where do Plo and I come into this?
His signature smirk began to fade from his face slowly. I'm not a bad guy, but my back was against the wall. They took my ship and wanted to kill me. However, they gave me another choice. Either die, or capture you two. While the Jedi Master was disappointed in him, she started to understand the situation better. I've been in this life for a long time. I want to be free of it. I'm tired of running from both the Republic and the Hutts. But if I help you Jedi, I don't know, maybe you could help me. Shaak smiled towards the smuggler. She knew he had a scummy past, but she could sense the kind heart Solo possessed underneath his tough exterior.
What do you have in mind?
Outside of the ship, the Hutt and his guards stand wait. The Hutt spoke in his native tongue.
Be ready. Solo is a slippery one.
The ship's hatch opened, and out walked Han, Greedo, and Shaak Ti. Next to them hovered a carbonite slab that contained Plo Koon. Ti looked to Solo annoyed. He looked back and whispered, I told you he was chilling. They approached the hut and it spoke.
Solo, I see you brought me the Jedi.
Han gave a subtle wink towards Shaak. Of course. You know I never let Jabba down. The Hutt glanced at Solo in disbelief. Han shrugged his shoulders. Okay, except for those 5 other times. The guards came closer to seize the Jedi. Wait, Greedo said, pulling out his blaster. Everyone looked towards the Rodian. Greedo, Han said. What are you doing? Taking advantage of the situation, he said, pointing his blaster towards him. Solo here plans to betray you, sir. They gonna try and escape. Han stared daggers at his former ally. Well, so much for doing this the easy way. Han quickly pulled out his pistol and shot Greedo in the chest, killing the Rodian instantly. He then handed Shaak Ti her lightsaber hilt and hit a button on Plo Koon's slate, causing it to flip on its side, acting as a wall between them and the criminals. The guards attempted to shoot Solo and Ti, but the carbonite barrier blocked their shots. One by one, the Jedi and the smuggler worked together to take down each guard, until it was only the Hutt that remained. Han aimed his pistol towards the defenseless Hutt. I want my keys to the Falcon. Now. The Hutt grabbed the Falcon's keys and gave it to him.
Here, have them. Just don't shoot.
Solo grabbed the keys and prepped his blaster. You don't want to die? Fine. Then promise me you'll leave me alone.
Solo, I cannot do that.
The Hutt said.
This is above me. What Jabba wants, Jabba gets. You know that just as well as I do. Killing me will have no effect on your fate.
The Hutt looked towards the Jedi.
Besides, I am defenseless. It's not the Jedi way.
Shaak Ti looked towards Solo.
He's right. It would be wrong to do so. You'd be no better than Jabba.
Han contemplated the situation for a moment, but quickly re-entered reality. Fine. If you can't clear my name, then I guess I'm no better than Jabba. He quickly pulled the trigger, sending a bolt of red blaster fire straight to the Hutt's face, killing him instantly. They stood quiet for a moment before Shaak broke the silence.
You shouldn't have done that.
Look, Jedi, you didn't know that Hutt, okay? I do. He deserved it. Trust me. He then turned towards the direction of where the ship was parked. Now let's just get to my ship and unfreeze your buddy. On board the Falcon, Shaak unfroze Plo and brings him up to speed on the situation. However, Han soon called them into the cockpit. Hey Jedi, you might want to take a look at this. We have a situation, he said, pointing to the holochat. The Jedi watched as news coverage from all over the galaxy reacted to the destruction of Coruscant. Well, I can't take you back there, Han said, taking in the situation. What now? Shaak Ti looked towards Han.
You want a new beginning? You want to start fresh?
Han nodded his head, of course.
Then, from this point on, you are now an ally of the Jedi.
She said, turning towards the window of the cockpit.
Enter the coordinates for Naboo. It's time we avenge Coruscant.
Captain Rex piloted the escape pod through hyperspace while Ahsoka was still unconscious. Hang in there, Ahsoka, he said to himself, looking towards her. Then suddenly, the pod exited hyperspace and began to malfunction. He turned his attention back towards space. What the heck is going on? He soon noticed a massive asteroid field ahead, and he was zooming right for it. Rex grabbed the wheel and attempted to steer the damaged pod through the massive clusters of space rock. The thousands of asteroids crashed and crumbled upon each other, nearly destroying the vessel. Luckily, after a few tense minutes of impressive maneuvers, he managed to escape in one piece. Rex slouched back in his seat and took a second to regain his thoughts. He then stood to his feet and looked to the pod's command console to discover that the pod's fuel assembly was damaged from Maul's attack. You have got to be kidding me, he said with defeat, realizing that the ship's engines can no longer run, which ultimately means he and Ahsoka are lost in space. Rex took a deep breath and looked over to his unconscious friend. I'm sorry, Ahsoka. I tried to save you, he said with sorrow. Although he knew she couldn't hear him, there was a part of him that just wanted to be honest with himself. He studied her orange skin and soft lips. She was beautiful. Ahsoka had been a friend of Rex's for so long, but due to her obligations with the Jedi Order and his own occupation, he never got the chance to tell her how he truly felt about her. And since Rex would never admit it to her face, and this may be their remaining days together, he decided to tell her. Ahsoka, I know you can't hear me, Rex said, sitting back down in his chair, but I care so much about you. And I know you'd feel the same about me if you were allowed to. He leaned forward, keeping his eyes locked on Tano. I know it's not our place to have feelings for each other, but Ahsoka, I love you. He looked at the floor, absorbing his own words. Then suddenly,
Rex?
Ahsoka said, rubbing her head.
What happened?
Rex was caught off guard. Ahsoka, hi, I'm glad to see you're not dead. He took a second to realize what he had just said. He was just so startled by Tano's consciousness that he wasn't expecting that at the moment, so he panicked. She raised an eyebrow, confused.
Yeah, me too.
Ahsoka stood to her feet and walked to the window.
What's going on?
Rex didn't know how much she had heard him say. What do you all remember?
The last thing I remember was seeing a flash of green light, and then Maul!
She said, looking to Rex.
Where's Voss?
Rex was relieved to discover she didn't hear what he had just said to her a few moments ago, but that brief relief quickly turned to dismay upon the current situation. He stayed back to give us time to escape. Ahsoka was visibly melancholy.
What about the holocron?
Maul has it. She rolled her eyes.
Oh great. Next you're gonna tell me we're stuck in space.
Well, Rex said, not wanting to reveal the truth to her. She sat down on the nearby chair and looked down in disappointment.
What have I done?
Rex looked to her. Ahsoka, this is not your fault. The pod was damaged by Maul. Besides, while the engines are out, we still have enough power to keep our beacon up. Someone will find us.
I'm not talking about the shipwrecks. I'm talking about Maul.
She said, holding back her tears. Maul? He questioned, confused. Ahsoka, that's crazy. How could you know that monster had control of a massive space station?
I didn't know about the station, but I knew about Maul.
What?
Rex said, standing to his feet. No, that's impossible. I read the reports, Ahsoka. You killed him on Mandalore. His body was obliterated by a bombing run.
No, Rex, I didn't.
She said, looking to him, unable to hold back her tears. But Ahsoka, what are you saying? She took a deep breath and searched her memories for the day.
After I defeated Maul, he told me that Anakin was going to turn to the dark side, and that the Dark Lord of the Sith was already in control of the Republic. He reached his hand out and asked me to join him.
And did you?
No, of course not.
She said, standing to her feet.
I wanted to capture him, but there was something in me that just told me to trust him.
Trust Maul?
I know. But he ended up being right all along. We left Mandalore together because he said that we could defeat the Dark Lord with an army of our own. So I falsely reported his death and headed with him to Cato Neimoidia. There, I lost track of him and discovered Master Plo Koon was in trouble.
Ahsoka, how could you? He's a monster, Rex said, shocked beyond belief. Cato Neimoidia was one of the heads of the Separatists. No wonder Maul has his own droid army. He took command after Skywalker slayed the other Separatist leaders and killed Palpatine.
I know, Rex.
She said.
I'm the reason for this. All of this. You called Maul the monster, but I'm the real monster.
Out of nowhere, a massive light shined through the ship's window. The light was so bright, it blinded Rex and Ahsoka for a moment. Oh no, Rex said, realizing the blinding light belonged to a massive ship. Maul found us! The light came closer and closer as Rex and Ahsoka scrambled for a way to defend themselves.
Are you sure there's no power left?
Ahsoka questioned.
We're a sitting womp rat out here.
Rex wanted to do something, but as the mysterious ship came closer and closer, he realized there was nothing they could do but prepare for death. Ahsoka, We lost. The pod began to get pulled in by the larger ship's tractor beam. Tano tried the pod's activation switches, but to no avail.
We can't just give up, Rex. We just can't.
Rex grabbed the Jedi's hand and looked her in the eyes. Look at me, Ahsoka. Look at me. She began to calm herself as he spoke. Maul got us. He got us. But if we all to die, just know that I don't blame you. The pod was pulled on board by the ship.
Thank you, Rex,
she said, gently sliding her hand from the trooper's grip.
But I don't plan on dying today.
She grabbed her lightsabers as the pod's doors began to be ripped open from the outside. Rex wanted to tell Ahsoka he loved her, but he realized if it were to be the end of their lives anyways, expressing his feelings wouldn't matter for much longer. Rex placed his helmet on his head and wielded his blasters. The doors were just seconds from being ripped open. Rex looked over to Tano one last time. Ahsoka.
Why don't you just save it for after we escape this mess?
She said with a smile.
It's been an honor, Captain.
The doors slammed open, sending a cloud of dust within the pod. Rex and Ahsoka prepared for battle. A battle they knew they couldn't win. But even if they knew they couldn't win, they were going to give Maul and his clanker horde one hell of a fight. Then, suddenly, they heard a familiar voice. Easy, you two. From the dust of the door's destruction, walked in the former Commander Cody. Well, who's saving who now? Cody. You're alive. But how? Rex said with relief. Before Cody could respond, another voice was heard. We were lucky. From behind Cody walked Supreme Chancellor Bail Organa. Now come along. We have much to discuss. Ezra, run! Jedi Master Kanan Jarrus shouted as a massive explosion erupted in the ship's cockpit. Jarrus lifted his hands in front of his body and used the Force to hold back the flames from obliterating him. However, while he managed to keep the fire at bay, the pressure of the explosion sent Kanan flying through the cockpit's window, knocking him out. The seemingly lifeless Jedi flew from the cliff his ship was parked upon and landed in the waters below. With what strength he had left, Kanan managed to grab onto a log floating in the river. He looked to the cliff's crest to see the flames devouring his ship as he slowly slipped into unconsciousness. Ezra, I'm sorry.
Wow, this guy doesn't look too good.
A female voice said. A Wookiee replied in his native tongue.
Wait, he's a Jedi.
A Jedi? On Lothal? I wonder what for.
She replied.
Whatever the case,
The Wookiee said.
I had good relations with the Jedi once. Perhaps we can save him before it's too late.
A few hours later, the female voice was heard again.
Hey,
She said.
you gonna make it or not?
Kanan opened his eyes to see a green Twi'lek looking towards him. She was beautiful, he thought to himself before fully coming to consciousness.
Do you have a name, Jedi?
Yes, he replied, rubbing his head. My name is Kanan Jarrus of the Jedi Council.
The Council, huh?
She said with a raised brow.
The name's Hera Syndulla.
Sandoli.
Kanan said, searching his memory. I've heard that name before.
Of course you have. Seems like everyone remembers my father,
she said, turning towards a screen littered with medical information. Kanan looked towards a nearby mirror to see that much of his hair had been burned off, and he also had multiple burns littering his body. You saved me,
To be honest, you weren't that beaten up despite the burns,
she said, pointing towards the monitor.
It appears you hit your head pretty good. What happened anyway?
I was on a mission with the Jedi Council when I was ambushed by General Grievous,
General Grievous?
she said with surprise.
How is that possible? He's been dead for years. You sure you didn't hit your head too hard?
No, I swear on my life. I remember. Kanan paused for a moment, finally realizing the very last thing that happened to him. Coruscant's gone,
What?
she said.
What does that mean?
It's gone, Hera. The planet, its people, destroyed. Hera still wasn't convinced by Kanan, believing his concussion was worse than she thought. Still, she grabbed her holopad and looked up the galactic news.
Here, I'll show you. If Coruscant was destroyed, it would be...
she said, pausing for a moment. Kanan couldn't see what was on the holopad screen, but looking at Hera's face of shock, he knew exactly what she was looking at.
I can't believe this.
She said with sorrow. Kanan stood to his feet and walked to the Twi'lek's side. Look, Coruscant may be gone, but there's still a few Jedi that remain. Hera studied the news report showing Maul and the Death Star.
What good would that do? This new Sith Empire guy has a planet-destroying space station. If you try to fight him, he'll just take out another planet.
Kanan was caught off guard. What are you saying? She looked from the holopad towards him.
I'm saying that maybe it's in the galaxy's best interest if you Jedi don't fight.
You have to be kidding me. Jarrus responded, offended. Maul is evil. He has to be dealt with.
See, that's the problem with you Jedi. You're always trying to save the day. You lose track of the reason you fight in the first place. For the people.
She turned around and walked towards the door. Kanan followed after her. So what? You just want to let Maul win?
Of course not.
She said.
But he didn't just destroy Coruscant to kill all the Jedi. He wanted to send a message, Kanan. A message of fear.
And that's exactly why we need to take him out immediately.
No, Kanan.
She replied.
During the Clone Wars, my father was always dealing with a force bigger than his. He wouldn't just rush out and attack. He would wait until it was time to strike.
No, Hera, I understand what you're saying, he said as they stopped outside the door of the cockpit. I know you think that if we strike back at Maul, he'll just take another planet in retaliation. But think about it, Hera. He now has the power to take out an entire planet just because. Hera stood silent as she listened to his point of view. Maul is a man holding a blaster to the entire galaxy. He may not pull the trigger, but he still might. So I ask you this, what's better? A bad man holding a blaster who may use it? Or a dead bad man? That's why we need to fight. Hera absorbed Jarrus' lesson before entering the cockpit.
Kanan, this is my co-pilot Chewbacca.
Chewbacca turned towards the Jedi and howled a hello in his direction. Wait a minute, you're Chewbacca? You fought in the Clone Wars alongside Master Yoda, right?
Yes,
He said in his native tongue.
he's a mighty warrior, very strong for his size.
Well, maybe you can say hi to him when we go to Naboo, Jarrus said as he turned towards Hera, attempting to come back to the original conversation.
I don't know, Kanan.
She said reluctantly. But why? She took a deep breath and looked out the window at the vastness of space.
Like I mentioned before, the Clone Wars was rough on my childhood, but war didn't end just because the Clone Wars did. My planet of Ryloth was plunged into a civil war. My father attempted to keep peace, but he was assassinated.
She wiped a tear from her cheek.
That's why I left Ryloth. I didn't want to be part of war anymore.
Kanan looked to the ground in dismay, and after a few moments, he lifted his chin. Sometimes things happen to us, Hera. War destroys us, takes away the people we care about the most. But we're still here, he said, gently placing his hand on her shoulder. We're here to keep fighting. We're here because the ones who fell before us can't. That's why we need to keep moving forward. For them. Otherwise, they died for nothing. Hera turned around to face the Jedi. Realizing there was more to him than just a pretty face. She could feel he experienced loss too, and through that feeling, perhaps they could get through this together. She looked towards Chewbacca.
What do you think, Chewie?
Chewbacca smiled with delight as he turned towards the front of the spaceship.
Naboo, here we come.
Hera and Kanan traded a smirk of understanding as the ship prepared to launch into hyperspace. The Jedi sat down on a nearby seat as a flash of Ezra slipped into his brain. The ship began to enter hyperspace as he whispered to himself, "Wherever you are, kid, I hope you're safe." R2 said as Luke Skywalker's fighter exited hyperspace. Good. I'm glad we arrived, Luke said with confidence. I'm ready to kill that animal.
No, R2. I told you before. I need to do this for my mother. The fighter came closer and closer to a small moon in the distance. However, as they approached the object, it was evident that it was no moon. It was the Death Star. Luke studied the structure, realizing just how massive it truly was. And the closer he got, the more his confidence turned to fear. Upon the Death Star, Emperor Maul was contacted by one of his droid surveyors. Sir, there appears to be a single Jedi fighter approaching. Permission to terminate. Maul walked to the chamber's windows and peered out into space. He could see the single ship, etched with the insignia of the Jedi upon it. The Emperor reached his hand out and began to focus on detecting the pilot. He originally thought it to be Kenobi, but the more he searched the pilot's feelings, the more he could feel his anger. A grin appeared on Maul's face. No. Allow him on board. If this Jedi wishes to face me one-on-one, so be it. Back with Luke, he watched as a single hangar opened up nearby. He brought his fighter inside and leapt from it. Before him stood 2 super battle droids. Luke ignited his lightsaber and readied for a fight.
No need for that.
A cyborg monstrosity said, walking in between the droids.
My name is General Grievous. I take it you're here to talk to my master.
I don't want to talk, Luke said. I'm going to kill him. Grievous was delighted by the young man's response.
Now that doesn't seem like something a Jedi would say.
I'm not a Jedi, Skywalker declared. Now take me to your leader. Grievous wanted to unleash his full wrath upon the boy. However, he knew his master wanted a piece of him first.
Fine,
General Grievous said, turning around.
Come with me.
R2 said with an uneasy tone. Relax, R2. Just stay in the ship. I'll be back soon. Luke followed the general and his droids out of the hangar and down the hall to the elevator. They entered the elevator and it began to rise. Grievous peered over to the young man.
Tell me, are you just a fool, or do you have a death wish?
I'm no fool. Maul is evil, and I'm going to kill him. That's all. Grievous could tell the young man had no idea what he was getting himself into, but that just added to the fun.
My master is the strongest Sith to ever live. Who are you?
Luke looked into the general's cat-like eyes. I'm a Skywalker. Grievous's eyes grew wide for a moment.
A Skywalker? You're the son of Anakin Skywalker.
Luke nodded to the general.
Well, that explains your brash personality.
Back with R2, the little droid snuck himself from the ship and secretly made his way to the Death Star's data logs. He was able to tap into the entire ship's mainframe and steal its construction plan. He downloaded what he could and headed back to his ship to wait for Luke. Back with Luke and Grievous, the elevator doors opened, revealing a massive throne room. It was black with hints of red scattered around, with a short staircase leading towards a single chair planted directly in front of a massive window overlooking space. Luke Skywalker, General Grievous, and the 2 droids approached the base of the stairs. Jedi. A voice called from the chair facing towards the window. Have you come to kill me? Luke grabbed his lightsaber hilt from his belt. I'm going to make you pay for what you've done. What I've done, the voice said, spinning his chair around to finally reveal his appearance to Luke. And what have I done, young Jedi? Do you not want peace? Because that is what I brought you. Peace? You blew up an entire planet. Coruscant and its inhabitants were a necessary casualty. Nothing more, nothing less. The galaxy knows what happens if they cross me. And so, they kneel. Anger began to overtake Luke. My mother was on Coruscant. Are you calling her a necessary casualty? Well, actually, Maul said, looking towards Luke with a grin of excitement. Yes. Yes, I am. Luke immediately launched into an attack of anger towards Maul, igniting his blade in the air. He brought his lightsaber straight down upon the Emperor, only it was blocked by another red lightsaber inches before making contact. Luke looked over to see who was holding the lightsaber. It was another teenager with black hair. All right, young Jedi. Meet my apprentice, Ezra. Maul said as both lightsabers were locked just a few inches from his face. Now, let's test your power. Luke looked to the other young man, keeping him from finishing Maul. The color of his eyes were a misty red. He pondered to himself for a moment, curious to what was wrong with Ezra. But ultimately, it didn't matter. No one was going to stop him from getting his revenge. No one. Ezra launched a force blast at Skywalker, sending him flying to the foot of the stairs. As Ezra crept his way down the stairs towards Luke, Grievous made his way towards Maul. It appears the holocron does have the ability to draw raw power from its victims.
It appears so,
Grievous replied.
As I said before, I do not believe Ezra had any previous Jedi training, yet he is keeping up with a Skywalker.
Maul raised an eyebrow intrigued. A Skywalker?
Yes, my lord. Luke is Anakin Skywalker's son.
Grievous said while still watching the battle.
His mother was a senator on Naboo.
Naboo, Maul said, recounting the moment he lost everything to the Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi. Luke and Ezra's duel took them closer to the steps again, within earshot of Maul and Grievous's conversation. Maul continued as he stared deeper into the holocron floating above his hand. It appears that in my attempt to fully discover the abilities of this holocron, I had forgotten the next phase of my plan. General, I know our next target. Ezra started to push Luke on the back pedal up the stairs, creeping closer towards Maul.
Our next target, my lord. Where do we strike?
Grievous said with delight. Maul released a sinister smile. Naboo. Luke overheard Maul's claim, and within an instant, flashes of the planet shot through his head. He saw the Palace of Theed. He saw the vast oceans. He saw his home. Luke already lost his mother. There was no way in hell he'd let Maul take everything else. Luke suddenly erupted in dark energy. He released a powerful force push that launched Ezra across the room, slamming him against the far wall. Grievous grabbed two lightsabers and ignited the blades as he went to take on Luke, but he seriously underestimated the Jedi's power. Skywalker used the Force to grab Grievous's chest cavity and crush it, causing the respirator to fail. The general fell to the ground as Luke launched forward again, aiming to finally wipe out the false Emperor. Enough of this, Maul said, wielding his holocron. You will obey me. Luke stopped in his tracks, his lightsaber still prepped to kill. He wanted to bring the saber down, but he couldn't move. What? How are you? I have the ability to control the hate in one's soul. And believe me, boy, you are full of hate, Maul said, standing to his feet and walking to the unconscious Grievous. He knelt down and checked the cyborg's respirator damage. This is impressive, boy. I rebuilt Grievous for the sole intention of surviving any fight, but within seconds, you took both him and Ezra down. What are you going to do with me? Luke managed to slip out as a few maintenance droids came over to Grievous's lifeless body and carried him away for repairs. I'm going to offer you a choice, Maul said, turning towards Luke. Join me, Luke. Allow me to teach you everything I know. Luke's anger continued to grow. Never. Hear me out, Maul said, inching closer. You're angry at me for your mother's death. But look at your power, Luke. I can sense, deep inside, you have always felt that you've been held back. But look at what you've just accomplished. With your power and my training, you could be the strongest Force wielder to ever exist. Stronger than me, stronger than Sidious. Even stronger than your father. Luke's look of anger slowly turned into a look of intrigue. Maul could see it upon his face, and let him go from the holocron's grip. Luke fell to his knees, dropping his lightsaber to his side. It felt like a massive weight of pressure had just released him. Maul continued, The first step in becoming what you are meant to be is by destroying who you were. That's why Naboo needs to be destroyed, and in doing so, both of us shall find peace. But what about the droid factory on Naboo? Luke questioned, still regaining his breath. The question somewhat surprised Maul, but seeing as though Luke appeared to be coming to his side, he decided to answer. There is no droid factory on Naboo, he said plainly, or any planet. I sent false information to the Supreme Chancellor knowing he'd spread the Jedi thin and keep them off my trail. But how do you create all these droids? Luke said, looking towards Maul. You would have to have a massive installation for that. Maul smiled to the boy. I do. What? You said that there were no droid factories on any planet. There aren't. My factory is here, Maul said, spreading his arms out, almost bragging. The Republic would have found a factory on another planet, but they didn't know about the Death Star, which made it the perfect base for operations. That's why this place is so big? Luke questioned. Of course not. I would have made it a fourth the size, Maul said, peering out the massive window. When I happened across the structure, it was already being created. Once Sidious died, I used my new droid army I acquired from Kate and Nemoidia to build the rest of it however I pleased. He turned back towards Luke, and I made sure to silence any who knew about the Death Star's construction. It took nearly 2 decades to complete, but it only took a minute to take over the entire galaxy. Luke stood to his feet. Interesting. Now, how fast does this thing actually go? Maul stood still for a moment, realizing how oddly specific that question was. He looked at the boy's hand to see something in it. What is that? Luke raised his hand in the air. It's my communicator. I've been transmitting my signal this entire time. You're finished, Maul. R2, get out of here. Take the info back to my dad. He'll know what to do. Suddenly, the transmitter flew from Luke's hand and shattered on the nearby wall.
I offered a choice for you to join me, boy. And you betray me.
Luke picked his lightsaber back up. Well, you know what, Skywalkers? We're known for being a little brash.
You believe yourself clever, Maul said. I offered you everything out of your own free will. But now, you have no choice.
Maul activated his holocron's ability again, grabbing onto Luke once more.
What you have just done will not stop me, Skywalker. All it has done is further secured your planet's fate.
As Luke began to lose consciousness and fall to the floor, he managed to mutter out a few final words.
You better be ready, because once my dad gets here, he'll kill you.
Maul came closer to the frozen Jedi. That is possible, he said with his signature sinister smile as Luke slipped into unconsciousness. Unless you kill him first.